Welcome to the Mondays with Mike podcast series. These are wise, warm, and candid talks between Harmony Gates in the San Francisco Bay Area of California and Mike Wilson in Wales in the United Kingdom. The podcasts document our ongoing explorations of the deep stuff of life, including our purpose, mission, vision, and values, as well as subjects such as relationship, self-knowledge, perception, self-awareness, self-empowerment, embodiment, trauma, healing, and others. Our dialogues are informed by the tools and practices of NVC, nonviolent communication. Join us to discover resources for living and sharing your fullest aliveness and for enhancing your capacity for honest, enjoyable, emotionally connected relating. In this episode, we talk around the subjects of wisdom and what is knowing. We talk about cultural conditioning that keeps us doing and directing and striving, and ask, how does continual doing make space within ourselves for life to flow into? Mike talks about being with Linda Joy in her death and what that's like and what he learned in that process. And we ask how to allow ourselves to be a channel for wisdom. Part of the answer is talking about beginner's mind and the value of not knowing. And I describe my practice of movement with awareness as a presence practice, and my conclusion that improvisation is faster than thinking. And we conclude with the idea that nature does not need instructions. I hope you enjoy this episode. Boy, do I have a responsive nervous system.
Do you want to take a moment to settle?
Thank you. Yes, I would like that very much.
Bring the singing bowl.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Take 3 breaths. See how that does. How's that?
That's perfect.
Good. Every time we pause like that, I want to stretch.
Yeah.
When I get to the top, I think, oh, I remember my shoulder's going to hurt when I come back down again. The doctor shoulder with the tendonitis, and it's going, oh, don't do that.
Yes, I know. There's something about the bell that brings me into my hearing and my senses and my body, and just really, again, the breath also, and kind of slows down all the cognitive dissonance and the thinking and the whatever, the agitation. Yeah, it brings me home. So it's very helpful. Yeah, I appreciate it.
The memories of Linda Joy, who was a very quiet and calm and kind and gentle person.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Thank you, Linda. Linda Joy. What a great name. I think Linda means beauty also. Lindo in Spanish. So beautiful joy. Beautiful joy. Wow.
Oh, I'm going to have to go and close the curtain. The wind's got up.
Okay.
It's going to start blowing stuff around the room otherwise.
A tornado that will come in and throw all the books and papers. Oh, man.
Last summer, in the middle of the night, I was awoken very suddenly, and with my heart was, what the hell was that? Bang, 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 bang. And the wind had blown a ukulele off the windowsill, and it just hit the ground with a hell of a
Oh.
crash.
So you have a nervous system after all, Mike.
Oh yeah.
Mine is only 1,000% more distressed easily, but yeah, I
Mm,
like that. I like that so much with you, Mike. I'm in your presence and the breath. And I think one thing I've noticed is you said yourself, maybe you're more embodied, maybe by being with me, because I have to really
mm.
get myself back in, I have to really, I don't have to, but it's how I manage my active nervous system, is to just remember the body and be holding part of my awareness inside in my body. And then I meet you because you're kind of like in a
Mm.
slower, kind of very grounded place. So
And my nervous system is very easily distressed, and
it
I've
is.
managed to arrange my life so
Ah,
it
okay.
doesn't
Well,
often
I feel less like an oddball then.
happen. I have a slow, quiet pace of life
Yeah,
since I retired,
yeah,
which
that
suits me very
helps. That helps. Mm. Well, I can find out if there's something particular that is on your mind or your heart. And as
well.
usual, if not, I always have a backup thing that I can bring in. So,
Nothing particularly there at the moment.
okay.
I've been, I made slow progress with my vision mobilization. And in the last meeting of our VM group, I was encouraged into the realization that I've been giving myself a hard time, saying, I should have done that by now. I should know what to do next.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I remember. I don't have to. And so what I'd missed out was I'm pretty comfortable with my vision. It's the what next. And I hadn't spent the time with the mourning, the gap.
hmm
So I'm kind of now holding the vision, noticing the gap.
hmm
That's where I am. So I'm not making a lot of progress in that. I'm not adding stuff to the VM.
right.
I'm making progress by mourning the gap.
Yeah, that is that's what's you got it exactly.
Mm,
It's a necessary I don't know, integration, resettling, recalibrate, whatever all that's going on inside.
mm,
I'm so acutely aware of that, having just gone through the piece I did with, wait, I'm not who I've been telling myself that I am for the last 25 years. Well, then, there's a crying and there's grieving, but then there's this sort of like, okay, I'm not really ready to snap to the next thing because that's kind of what got me
mm.
in trouble in the first place. So,
I made a
yeah,
space for life to flow into.
exactly. Yeah, to connect and just listen and respond
Mm,
and be more of a curious explorer, or not even explorer, a curious observer almost. And and less of a doer. And catch myself because I think the doing is a way to take me away from the real work that wants to happen, which is the receiving and to the listening.
mm.
And that's just a little harder. Yeah, it's a little harder to stay in that space.
Yeah, but that's yeah, just that idea is bringing memories, thoughts, and memories. Because
Yeah.
that's that sort of journey for me of being of forgiving myself for being unremarkable, allowing myself to be unremarkable. Because we get, I mean, I think it's probably different in the USA. In the UK, growing up, I got some very confusing messages about, on the one hand, keep your head down, don't stand out, and on the other, you've got to be best at everything. And I think, well, which is it?
I don't know
It's
how to
very
do both.
confusing. But we end up pretending quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I stopped pretending when I got sober in '95, and that sort of slowly settling into some kind of ordinariness became very comfortable. And it probably took 20 years of that before what flowed in was I did surprise myself. So it kind of allowing, but it was 20 years or even 21 years, allowing that space and not trying to convince myself or anybody else that I was something I'm not. Then when it really mattered, that some kind of wisdom flowed through.
Oh, yeah.
Those last few days with Linda Joy, and then after she died, I was so sure when she's died that, and then I've done what I offered, what I said I'd do. And then there's this, oh no, there's more.
Mm.
There's still a bit more
You're
care.
still alive for one thing,
Yeah,
right?
but yeah, there's more for her. After she died,
Oh,
there was
oh, okay. More
that,
with you and her, you mean, right?
yeah,
That,
to
yeah.
be present, to accompany her for another day until the
Right.
undertaker took her from the house,
So not just the physical moment of the last breath and you're done, right?
which
There's,
is what I was expecting.
yeah, and you're finding out, well, no, it's continuing. This connection, this accompaniment, this being withness. Am I?
So there was a whole series of things that I realised would be done, were called for.
Mm,
And then afterwards, I thought, how on earth did I know that? It was
yeah.
I've had no previous experience of being with someone who died. I didn't know what, and it was probably useful to not know, to
Yeah.
be sort of fully owning my ignorance and inexperience, and my experience of it, my impression of what happened was certainly that it wasn't that I wasn't wise, but that wisdom flowed through me or came to me somehow. It was more like being a channel for wisdom,
Ooh.
which is a kind of weird and uncomfortable idea for a secular humanist.
Well, and or a human being on the planet right now. I
Yeah.
mean, in some ways, it's like, I don't even really want to interrupt your flow, but so many things are landing for me. Like, one is, it's useful to not know. I think that's what you said. It's
Mm.
like, that's so important because if we know, then we actually don't know is the whole point.
I
Not
can't.
knowing is allows um, the true knowing, the discovery to happen. And I was thinking of your talking about the way you're raised, like the way we're raised is we're supposed to know. We're asked at 5 years old, what are you going to be when you grow up? Right.
Mm.
And so, okay, guys, I got to be something. So I
Damn
better
if I
start
know.
choosing something and trying to fit that rather than
One
I
thing
don't
for the rest of
know.
your life.
Yeah. What if we were raised with I don't know is
Mm.
useful? And we had those 20 years of growing up to get to a place, to like, oh, here's what it is. Right.
Hmm. There's one of there's an idea. It comes from one of the martial arts, one of the Eastern martial arts. I can't remember which. I used to know a chap who was dead keen, and it's the idea of beginner's mind. So even the most experienced master can approach with beginner's mind. It's
Yeah.
having that emptiness, that possibility. There's plenty I don't know.
It's like that is the mastery, I think.
Mm.
I've done this practice called contact improvisation dance, which I
Yeah.
realized this morning, it just came to me. It's an embodied relational practice. I think that was the word I came up with. I think it was better than that. But it's so my awareness is fully in my body and I'm relating to another person. And I
Mm.
can't
Doing
stop
that as a
really being in
sync.
my body to do this practice. So, and I think martial arts, maybe they're combative, but there's still a relationship happening, right? Where And the the mastery level of that is ready for whatever. It's like not knowing. It's not knowing, not knowing, not knowing, but trusting that there's like a deeper knowing that's operational. Because and that's what even one of the teachers of this, there's no teachers, but the person who sort of popularized this form is that that the mind can't think fast enough to move at the speed of physical contact with another person when we're at high speed moving together. You just can't think the pathway. There's no way. You can't control it. You just have to let go. After moving around in your body and in your body with other people, after a certain point of time, the body, it's like walking. Do we think every footstep? No, our body knows how to walk. We don't know how we do it.
Many years ago, I tried to learn clarinet, and the teacher also played saxophone, played jazz sax, and he had some sheet music. Somebody had transcribed some of Charlie Parker's solos, and he said they're basically unplayable. He said the only way you can play that many notes that quickly is to be improvising.
Exactly. So he improvised and then wrote it down afterwards.
Yeah, Charlie Parker, when he was playing, he wasn't thinking. He was just playing.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't think that fast. You can't. You're looking at sheet music and play that fast. It just isn't going to happen.
That's like the phrase that came to me is the art of living. It's not a science. We can't figure it out. And we talked about trusting ourselves. It's kind of like in order to be unremarkable, to let go of this fake identity that I thought was my identity, I have to say, well, it's okay. I've made it this far and I'm okay. And I must know how to live life. I'm
Yeah.
like,
through various strategies, you've survived until now.
yeah, like there's this is way that I keep, taking the next step. And I haven't taken that step off the cliff yet, to
Good.
I don't plan on it
doing that.
soon, but who knows? Yeah. Relational trusting. I just read that off my page. I was taking notes from what I'm calling our meeting number 9 that I'm getting ready to post up, listening and trying to just like capture what we're talking about, because we were talking actually about your purpose. And at that time you were, well, is my purpose more about people being able to relate to the not human world, the natural world, that you didn't like the term, or is it more about this deep interpersonal connection that's possible that people can have with each other, right? And those were like,
when did we have that conversation?
that was in January.
Yeah. I still haven't got an answer for that.
No, and I remember thinking at the time, and saying it too, like, it's almost like there's something, if those two things were to go deeper, there's the same thing at the bottom of both of them. There's, you were using the term reverence, for the beauty or the depth or the amazingness of nature, if you want to, I know you don't like that term, but or of a human being and of ourselves. To me, there's something like way at the, this
a long way down, but yeah.
Yeah, this appreciation and valuing that and honoring that, because we're taught to be so superficial, and instrumental. Like, get this thing done.
task oriented, is it
Yeah.
sometimes?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And then we miss like just the amazingness of even being alive,
Mm.
you know?
The
Like I
simplest
miss,
beauty.
yeah, the body. I was listening to some guy talking about using the breath, 15 minutes of breathing twice a day. And I thought, well, that's my movement practice. I actually spend time savoring being in a body, like uh, giving myself, like my body. That was the thing I said in that I was sick that morning, kind of. I hadn't slept, and I recognized,
Oh.
oh, my body wants attention. It wants me to
Mm.
be in it, not just sitting doing, like, so I moved throughout that one, just like with part of my attention, certainly just, savoring the breath and the movement and that's a presence practice. Otherwise, up in my head. Mm. And I need it because I get in my head so easily.
Yeah.
Ah. Mm. 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 Yeah. I don't know if you're just getting ready to speak. I just read something
Mm.
about how language and words cannot describe.
That's just something you just said reminded me of something interesting happened yesterday afternoon. I'm still going out looking for interesting places to photograph and make videos of the countryside.
Hmm.
And I stopped in a place. I think I'd driven through it before. I never stopped. It's well out of the way, down lots of windy, narrow lanes, quite some way from the main road. And I think I'd driven through it, but I don't think I'd stopped before. And in fact,
Mm.
where I'd stopped, there was a bridge over a stream. But in fact, it wasn't that attractive. I thought that's not what I'm looking for a video.
Mhm.
But I had just a very, very pleasant experience of being this body.
Yeah.
Which is, it was like I walked a few steps. Oh, that feels nice. I'm enjoying this walking,
Hmm. Yeah,
and it's more
exactly.
than usual. It was
Like,
almost like it was
oh,
more. And what I thought, what was different when if I go for a walk and I'm not going to be walking on sort of fairly flat paved surface, then
right.
I use a stick
Okay.
because I've got it's an old leg injury from a motorbike accident in 1977.
Hmm.
And if the surface is uneven, it's quite hard on my ankle, which is almost rigid,
Yeah.
and it's a bit of extra support, a bit of
Yeah.
extra
Right.
balance.
Yeah, makes
But
sense.
I thought actually it's I've got into the habit of using the stick when I don't actually need it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And if I walked without the stick, I actually
Felt yourself
felt
more
more myself. So
walking.
actually,
Yeah. Yeah.
it would be useful to get out to really only take the stick when it really is going to be necessary. Like if I'm going to go somewhere soft and muddy or uneven or steep, I'll
Hmm.
take it.
Hmm.
And if I'm going
Mm.
to walk somewhere which I know is pretty flat, then I will leave the stick.
Yeah.
And I felt a bit. I went for a walk this morning without it and felt a bit naked, but I really didn't need it.
Right. Yeah.
It's almost
Wow.
become a habit to have it.
Right. The habits form quickly, and then it's
Mm,
almost like we're asleep, because this is something that we our brain does that. Oh, I already know this. Let's see, what can I be thinking about while I'm doing this
mm,
thing that I already know how to do, right? And we're over here in the future or the past or, somewhere besides taking that step and then that step and then that step and then hearing that noise and that bird and feeling that breeze, right? That it's and it's luscious. It's so luscious to be for me.
yeah.
and I'm
Completely
not
solid.
thinking about it, but just actually in the delight, the pleasure, the awareness, the aliveness. This morning, my feet got cold and I stood in some warm water, and then I don't know. I think I've talked to you about this hammock thing that I string. I do it on the floor too, but now that I
Yeah.
have this soft hammock, and I just went into the hammock. Well, actually, even before that, I just went, oh man, I'm up this morning. I took my shower, but my body wants attention, wants me to feel and stretch and move and just, not a routine. This is my yoga routine, okay, did that, check it off the list, but like, oh yeah, that feels good. Oh, taking a deep breath and just letting, like,
Mm.
that's life. Ah, so so it relates to the stick and also the wait, here's a place I haven't. Let me just like I've seen this 100 times. Now I'm seeing it though,
Mm.
right? And it's an altered awareness level, right? That's what we take drugs for. I mean, those kind of drugs.
Yeah, I don't know that is at all helpful actually.
Well, but I think we're looking for that depth of aliveness.
Mm. Don't need
And
drugs for that.
yeah. Either or we do other drugs are more for like numbing the fact that we are deeply unhappy and not
Mm.
connected to life, and we don't even want to be aware of that. We just like sort of strip that. There's that. And then, we try as human beings. I just think unfortunately we're rewarded and brought up to fit something rather than, be amazed.
Mm. Yeah. Or delighted.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, quite often what I my experience of the other than human world is delight
Yeah.
rather than amazement.
Delight. Yeah. I
Mm.
guess it's a bit, it is delight, or
That's
it's
I mean maybe it's maybe
enjoyment, it's delight.
mm.
The light, delight.
that's that's what I get from they're not here today, but that's what I get from the crows chattering. There's something about the way that they never actually quite stop.
Right.
There could be 100 crows, and there'll be one or two of them at least will be
Always making a noise. And then when they
making
all go at the same time, we have them come here too and just,
yeah, and
it's
then
a
they'll all walk
huge
off.
crow party, and they're all yelling at the same time at the top of their lungs to each other.
Now I notice it's quite unusual to not be able to hear them at all. But they do get around a bit. If it's the same flock, I have seen them a couple of miles away.
Yeah, well, they
I'm
move.
assuming it's the same
I've
flock,
seen
so
them.
they're moving. They have
Yeah.
a wide variety of telephone lines to stand on.
We have big trees, the redwoods, and they'll flock and around that and then land and then all go over to another place, and
Mm.
and then go downtown. I've seen them just like the birds, the movie, just a huge swarm of them going downtown into the downtown tall buildings. All at certain times of night. They're all just talking to each other. Um, and I think it's perception. At times I can think, oh, shut up, go away, or oh my God, how cool is this? This whole thing is happening for, my amusement and my delight.
Mm. It does seem that way sometimes, doesn't it? Do you reminded me because I don't even visit the city. Never mind live in one, but I did used to. I used to live in the big town of Reading,
Right.
and they built a 4-lane ring road around Reading. And I was walking home in the dark one night, and I could hear birds sort of twittering quietly, but they were twittering.
Yeah.
And I was, well, there aren't any trees there. What the hell's going on? And it took a while. The penny drops when they built this road. They built very tall streetlights, and on top
Oh,
there was like 4 large, like lampshades with big, powerful bulbs in them,
Yeah, yeah.
illuminating this ring road. And the starlings were sleeping on top of them because it's probably nice and warm,
Mhm,
the heat
mhm,
from the bulbs.
mhm.
So every one of these huge streetlights had half a dozen starlings sleeping on top.
Oh, warm little nests. Thank you very much, mankind,
Yeah,
since you
and
took
sort
our
of
trees
quiet
away.
twittering noises,
Yeah,
and
they're so
probably
sweet.
dropping a huge quantities of bird poo on the road
Guano.
underneath.
Yeah, inconvenient in some ways, but delightful if you pay
Mm,
attention to the sweetness, you know? Just the sweet. I have this fountain right outside my window, and now I don't know where this pair of mourning doves. They're about the size of a pigeon, and they're this tawny brown colored, pretty, but um, understated in terms of their colors. The male and female
mm.
look almost identical in colorage, and they're awkward. They're like, oh, they can't quite. There's some kind of bird that just, other birds will zip around and do all this stuff. These ones kind of like, I don't know, can I jump that? And they'll finally kind of take three other ways to get there,
Making quite hard work of
and
it.
then they'll get there and then be like, okay, I made it, and they so they're this and they're also really fluffy. They look really soft and really sweet, and I don't know how to describe them, but and then they're the birds that will look at me. They look right at me while they're doing their thing, not out of
Mm,
fear. It's almost looks like out of curiosity instead of fear. And they stay around, they bathe, and now they prop themselves up and they do all their preening together right outside my window for like a half an
oh,
hour. They're
sweet.
just, look at me occasionally and fluff their feathers and do the thing that birds do. And I can't tell you, every time they show up, I'm like, "Oh, you're here. Thank you." And I really, I give them my attention for,
Mm. Maybe
quite a
that's what I'm
while.
thoughtful.
It's so sweet. It's just so delightful. Oh, I'm so lucky. They're not here now, but I
Mm.
can almost see them in my imagination. So
I've just noticed since I said I can't hear the crows, I can hear them now.
now they're back. You called them
I
in.
think the Zoom background noise software seems to take care of it, which is a shame, really, because I'd quite enjoy it if you could hear them as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you have to, well, I don't know.
But there you go. Yeah,
Sometimes
they're out there now.
unchange your, yeah.
I don't recognise the description of the dove that you said. I think maybe that's one that we don't have.
I'll have to send you a photo. I'll send you one by
Mm.
email of yeah, they're called mourning, mourning
Morning
doves.
doves.
And I think it's because they're called woo woo,
Sounds a bit sad.
woo, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And they make another sound. I used to think it was their voice, but someone told me it's their wings. You can hear them
Ah, so
as
it's
they fly, and I think it's the way
wishing with their
they're just
feathers.
not all that aerodynamic apparently for birds.
Well, I'm surprised. They obviously found a strategy that works. They're
I
surviving and
know.
thriving, but they don't sound like very successful birds, do they?
No, no, they're very pair bonded
Hmm.
and they're gentle. I think that's the word I would use. They're very, very gentle. It seems like most birds are sort of high strung, and these ones
Mm.
seem pretty laid back. They're gentle and slow and yeah, nature or the not what do you call it other than human world?
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing in the city. I have this big oak tree and I see the squirrels in and out and I see the insects and I have the birds. I'm on the third floor and these kind of big views. I don't really look like I'm in a city here.
I thought because you got your address on the bottom of your email,
Yeah,
I looked you up on Google Street View, and I thought, yeah, that
yeah,
doesn't look like the middle of the city. That looks
yeah.
pretty nice.
I'm a little
You
bit
got
out.
plenty of
I don't know what
trees
they
and
call
some
it,
grass.
suburban like
Mm.
sprawl from the main downtown area.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could never make it right downtown. I tried that in San Francisco one point when I was moving from Montana, and it was just way too much, you
a
know.
bit too
But
intense.
it was a temporary landing place so that I could find another place and way too intense.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah, I've
even
never lived in
I
a
don't even,
town. I've lived on the edge, but never actually in the town.
yeah. Yeah. I don't even like driving. I'm on my bike or walking. I'd much rather just walk or swim,
Mm.
ride my bike. Yeah. Mm.
I think what we've spoken about this evening is, realized or not, part of purpose is to find a way of life that really suits us and live it, and
Live our
hopefully by that be an inspiration to others who are living a life that doesn't really suit them.
Yeah. An inspiration, an example,
A
uh,
model.
a model, a demonstration. Just, there's another possibility. And I think it could be this easy catch 22. I'm going to live this life so that I'm an example, which already defeats the purpose in some
Yeah,
way.
that's kind of a step away from it already, isn't it?
Exactly. What if I just live this life because I honor life?
Mm. Yeah, mostly I live this life because this is what works for me.
Yep.
This is what has led me
This
to
and I am life, so
contentment,
it honors me. It
happiness, and joy.
honors life. It honors my rhythm. It's
Mm.
almost like, well, who am I? Yes, I had to unlearn all the stuff I was told and tried to be for so, and it seems like in some ways both of us have at least had this moment of like, wait, I don't think so. You know, as much as it has some of its charms and somehow in this world seems like a good fit, it really isn't. It's not really, it doesn't really fit who I am. So who am I after all? And
Mm.
and staying with that. Again, we talked about habits, but even a habit is sort of a stasis, but I'm evolving. I know I'm evolving. I have, eat every day. My experiences make me a new person the next day, right?
And
So,
we have the potential, with the opportunity, if we choose it, to notice that what how we're living, and to realize, oh, like I did with the walking stick, actually
hmm
I've started using that when I don't really need to use it, and
exactly.
it's about having
Yeah.
that space.
It's like staying aware enough
Yeah,
and
noticing.
it's a notice.
Mm.
It's a notice. And there's lots of things to notice. So it's not like
Do
noticing
that.
everything all at once. But,
Yeah, do
just
that at a gentle pace as well.
yeah, yeah, when being open to the noticing and receptive to it when it comes,
Mm.
and then willing to be curious and then experiment and keep learning. I said to one person I was sort of coaching a couple years ago, we're all learners.
Mm.
There's always
And part of it is having the time, the space to process, to integrate, and to have room for stuff to flow into. If I was living the sort of hectic life that I used to lead when I worked in industry, there wasn't
no,
the space at the time for
no,
anything
no,
to get in,
no. There's
except to
just
carry on doing what I've
it's
been
go,
doing
go,
every
go,
day.
go, 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 distract,
Mm.
distract, go, go, do, go, 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 wake up, go, go, go. I was in a religious cult for 3 years. I think I've
Mm.
mentioned it to you. I don't know if
You
I
have,
did.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
that it just reminded me of that when you said that. I mean, life is like a religious cult. In fact, I was anyway. And that was the way that, our schedules were so full by from on high. This is what
Mm.
you have to do every minute of every day. There
Everything's
was no
prescribed.
time to go, is this working for me? Do I like this?
Mm.
And there was no integration. There was even no real agency. No one was making any choices. Everybody was just doing what was told for them to do.
It's quite mechanical, isn't it?
It was very much so. Yeah, might as well have been a robot, really, in a lot of ways. And that was extreme, but I think it's only somewhat more extreme than what goes on in the world in general in terms of how, you know, we're set up to have to, even from a certain age, we're going to school, we're doing soccer, in this culture, we, something, doing something. There's no, kids don't even get to go play outside and explore much, so, and then once you get this, it's so in order to get there, and then that's to get there, and that's to get there, and it's relentless.
Many people are going to be or believe themselves to be trapped in that.
Yeah. Remember they called it the rat race?
Yeah, the sort of the financial commitment, particularly if they've got a family,
Yeah.
someone
Once you have
working with a
family
family.
and you have responsibilities like that, and then even people that get really wealthy have all this responsibility. They buy all this stuff and now they have to maintain it and,
Yeah.
make
I was when I had that life crisis and decided to pack it all in and go to art college. I didn't have a wife and kids saying, "Don't be stupid, get back to work. We
exactly.
want to go on holiday. We want to fly off somewhere for 2 weeks holiday next year.
Yeah, that's
We want
true.
a new car. We want this. We want all this stuff." So I was very fortunate. There was no one depending on me.
Yeah,
But for a lot of people, it's a very different experience.
right. And I mean, those are choices people make, but
Mm.
within the somnambulance of the culture, you know, having not questioned a lot of times. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I don't remember someone ever, as we've talked about Alan Watts a little bit, but he talks about the best way, well, I'm paraphrasing poorly, but something about if you could get into college and instead of what are you studying and what are you going to be with it, like, write what, helps you come alive. What do you dream of? What do you, like help people to just sort of really see and know themselves and question and wonder and write and to get some kind of inner direction rather than that cultural outer
Mm.
push. And then choose that. And and then dropping this, we have so much status comparison and then stigma and judgment, and people are running from, exclusion.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Running from exclusion. Yeah, running from being an outcast of some kind,
Yes,
an
exactly.
exile.
An oddball, a
You once
misfit.
belonged, got to
Even
do
our
this.
language, disability, it's always, there's some kind of, and it wasn't just Hitler, the super race is this, and
Mm.
everything else is sort of a problem that we, that we have to fix or medicate or change or be rid of. And again, it's almost like looking out and saying, well, wait a minute, that tree is shading that flower. Let's get rid of the tree because that flower wants sunshine, without honoring the system, the way that things all, you know, support each other. And it's built in. It's not outer directed. There isn't someone on high saying this tree will go here and this, well, we try to do that when we landscape our yards, but right, nature does such this wonderful job of allowing things to be what they are, all the
Mm.
things.
Doesn't need directing.
Right.
Doesn't need instructions.
Right.
It just does. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall I ring the singing bowl?
Well, only you and yeah, let's ring it for us. Thank you for spending this time with us. If you liked this podcast, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay with us. And tell us what you thought of this episode. We love to read your thoughts in the comment section.